G'day so-and-sos and welcome to my sewing room. My name is Cathy and in today's tutorial I'm going to show you how to make a pencil case. Now I've designed this with a foam lining in it. So something that I really hated as a kid was when I dropped my pencil case and then you went to sharpen all your pencils and the leads were broken or your crayons were broken. It's never a good day if you have a broken crayon, although they still colour. So yeah, foam, it's got a nice wide bottom on it. It's fully lined, nice big zipper, will fit a ruler and scissors, whatever you like in there. Would also make a really good makeup case if you prefer makeup brushes over crayons, but you do you. Okay, let's get cracking. And again, I apologize for my animals. They're nuts. I can't help it. It's just a fact of life. So forgive me if you hear my dog snoring. He's a snorer. Okay, here is what we need for today's project. I have my main fabric, my lining fabric, my lining interface, and my foam interface that I'm going to use for the outside of my bag. These are just cotton woven. Got some clips, some pins, acrylic ruler. I've got my scissors that I'm going to use for my interfacing because it's got glue and stuff on it. I don't want to wreck my fabric scissors. A rotary cutter if you like, be careful, and a couple of different marking pens. I usually use a Sharpie when I'm drawing out a pattern on the foam stuff because it's a little bit harder to see. The foam and the interfacing I got from Spotlight. It's easy to buy online. If you've never used foam before, don't panic. Okay, let's have a look at this pattern. Now, the pattern pieces that I've made for this pencil case are all the same. So you're going to cut out every piece exactly the same. So that is your pattern piece. Now you'll notice on this side, I've written cut on fold. That means exactly that. So when you have your fabric, you literally fold it. Get a nice straight line and then put that end that says cut on fold on the fold. Pin it in place or use your pattern weights and then cut around that. Open it out and you'll have the full size piece. It's pretty easy. If you're using a directional fabric, so something like I have that has a picture on it that goes in a certain direction, then I've got a little smiley face just to remind you to have your direction facing that way. So cut out all of your pieces, 2 main pieces, 2 foam pieces, 2 lining pieces, 2 light interfacing pieces. You need a 2-inch square zipper tab. You need an 18.5-inch zipper tape, piece of tape, and a number 5 zipper head. It's all written on there for you. Okay, do that and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so I've got everything cut out. As you can see, I haven't cut out the foam exactly to the shape of my pieces. That's because I'm just feeling a little bit lazy today, honestly. I'm going to iron that on and then cut around it, just because this foam can be a little bit tricky to work with and I don't want any sort of gaps on it. But you don't have to do that. You can cut it out exactly as per the pattern piece if you like. I've got my lining pieces and my interfacing. Now you can tell with your interfacing which side is the glue side because it's that little bit shinier than the other one. With the foam on this side, it feels smoother. You might even be able to hear that. On this side, it just feels a little bit rougher and you can hear that difference as well. You can sort of see it, but it can be a little bit tricky. It's not overly gluey, if that makes sense, but it does stick. Okay, then I've got my zipper tab. So my zipper tab, which I've cut out of my main fabric, and I'm going to put some light interfacing on that, and my zipper tape with my zipper head on it already. Now if you're having trouble putting your zipper heads on, have a look at a short I did where I use a zipper jig, or I might just actually just add that in as we go, so you can have a little look on that. It was a couple of bucks off Temu and well worth the money. So over to the ironing board. Iron all your interfacing on. You don't need to watch me do that because it's boring. Iron your pieces first so you don't end up with wrinkles or creases, then iron your interfacing on, and I'll see you back here in a moment. Actually, I changed my mind. I'm going to show you my ironing press. It is just so much easier than sitting there with an iron with interfacing. So if you can get your hands on one of these, I highly recommend it. Okay, watch this. A little hard to do one-handed, but there I have my shiny side of my interfacing up. I'm just going to position that on. Okay, pull that lever down. I've just got on like a medium setting just because that interface is light and the glue doesn't take very long. And it's stuck to the top, but that's okay. Bada bing, bada boom, done. How easy is that? No, you need to go away. Go that way. Go. So bye. So bye, friends. Bye. Jeez. Okay, here is everything interfaced and ready to go. So I've got the foam on those pieces, light interfacing on these. I've got my zipper ready to do, which is what we are going to do now. We're going to put the zipper tab on the end of it. I'm just going to fold him in half. Little whack. Then up to that halfway line on both sides. We're just going to fold that in is all, so that center bit that we just folded was just a guide for us. And then fold it. Oh, hot, Cathy. Jeez, woman. Never learn. Always burning my fingers. And then again. So what we're going to do, we want our zipper opening to the left. So that side. So we're going to put our zipper tab on this end. So I'm just going to cut that edge a little bit straighter. Pop that on like that. Grab a clip. Take it over to the sewing machine, and I'm just going to sew that on. Okay, so the trick with sewing over these zipper tapes is to go nice and slow. So I've got a zipper foot or a 1/8 foot in there. Shush, Pumpkin. And I just want to go nice and slow. So all I'm going to do is literally go one stitch at a time if your machine will allow you to do that. I'm really sorry if you can see Pumpkin in that shot. She's upset I'm not paying her attention. So if you can do that, do that. Otherwise, just go super slow. And then we have that line nice and close to that edge so that we know that it's all secured and grabbed it. Now you'll notice that my ends, especially over here where I've got that interfacing sticking out, are a little bit messy. Don't worry, trim off that little bit if it's bothering you. But that would be sewn up inside of the bag. Okay, let's go back to the table. Yes, Pumpkin, it looks good, doesn't it? We did a good job. We did a good job, pussycat. It's a party. Everyone's come to play. Yep. And then Sleeping Beauty with my... That's where my roller got to, Elvis. You took my roller. You took my roller. You took my roller. Okay, so cats have been kicked out. They've got to go party outside. Elvis is still inside because he's napping. So if you hear him snoring, I'm very sorry. He's a very loud snorer, but I don't have the heart to wake him up because he's been a good boy. So for this bit, I've got our finished zipper tab, main lining piece, fabric piece, and our lining piece. So we're going to start with our main fabric piece and our zipper tab. I'm going to measure about 3/4 of an inch, which is about there. I can see that. I'll put a little mark there for myself, but I can see where it is. Now I'm going to place my zipper opening to the left. So my left is on this side, so I want the opening on that side. I'm going to put them right sides together, so the right side of the fabric where the picture is and the right side of my zipper. And I'm going to line up the edge of my zipper with that 3/4 inch mark. And then I'm just going to clip that in place. So you'll see that I'm lining up the edge of that zipper tape with the edge of the fabric. And I'm going to clip that along. Now, if you're a little bit hesitant and this is the first time you've done it, by all means, just go to the machine now and baste that. And what that means is just do a loose stitch or a basic stitch or hand stitch it right up along that very edge just to hold it in place. But honestly, this isn't a hard thing to do, so it's up to you. Now, I'm going to measure, I'm going to put the other, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to sandwich it and do it together. So we're going to sandwich. I think you can do it. I really do. So, but if you want to, then you've already basted that zipper down. If not, we're going to sandwich. So we're just going to put that other piece of lining on top and clip that in place. Now with that zipper down this end, we're going to do the butler method, which will look really pretty. So what I'm going to do is change that from white to a blue. And I'm going to measure in about an inch just to give myself really enough room. I'm going to do that on both sides because I'm not really sure what side I'm going to have that on at the sewing machine. Okay, so at the end where your zipper tab is, you can see that sticking out 3/4 of an inch. At this end, just make an inch mark. And our zipper tape is sandwiched together between our fabric. Let's go back over to the machine. Okay, so I'm going to pop that under. I can feel where my zipper tape is. So I can feel those teeth are right there. So I'm using that thinner zipper head again. Now I want my stitch length at about a 3. And I'm going to back stitch along there, up over that piece of zipper tape. Now I can feel that that edge of that foot is right up against that plastic teeth of the zipper, and that is pretty much exactly where I want it. And it will just stay nicely in place so long as I go nice and slow, checking to make sure everything is still aligned. Now I'm using a 70 weight needle, which should be okay for this bag, or this pencil case I mean. Just going to tidy that up because I can see that lining has shifted on me just a little bit. Now I'm coming up onto that 1 inch mark, and that's where we're going to do what's called the butler method for the zipper. So what I'm going to do is open this up. I'm going to move that zipper pull down out of the way, and so you can see my zipper tape here is open. So I'm going to just let that bottom bit just fall out of the way. I'm not interested in that at the moment. It can just get out of my way. And I'm going to come up to that mark that I made, which is right there. Then I'm going to pull this piece, and this is why it's a bit longer if you're wondering before why it's so much longer than the pencil case. So I've got plenty of room to work with. I'm going to pull it up to 90 degrees. You can do it like at 45. I like it at 90. It just looks a bit prettier, I think. And then I'm going to slowly go over those teeth, and then I'm going to back stitch, and then all the way up to the end and back stitch. Okay, and I'll show you what that does. So have a look at how that zipper is now sitting, and it's just disappearing into that fabric and looks really pretty. Okay, we're going to go back over to the table, give this an iron, come back and top stitch. Okay, so that is one side of our zipper done. You can see it's nice and even because I could feel where it was with that zipper foot. Just going to give this an iron just so it's laying on nice and flat, because we're going to top stitch that down. Now top stitching will hold the seam down and will make it look pretty. And see how it's sort of like sitting up like that at the back? Top stitching will hold that down, and that's what we want. So I'm going to give it a bit of a pull, like I am pulling on it, to make it sit down a little bit, especially with that foam in it. I love using this foam because it's really foamy. I don't know, soft, squishy. What's another adjective for that? I don't know, it's nice. It'll give a lot of protection. And the reason I'm using foam, if I haven't said it already, is because I want my pencils and whatever I put in there to not break. I hate it when the lead breaks in your pencil if you drop your pencil case or whatever. So it's just to give whatever is in there a bit of protection, but also to give our bag a bit of structure and to make it look pretty. So I'm undoing that zipper, and I'm just going to clip all that down just to hold that back lining piece laying flat. So if I wanted to, I could change the color of my top stitch. So I've got some really nice yellows in here. I've got pink, I've got purple, I've got blue, I've got every color of the rainbow. I mean, let's face it. So I can use sort of whatever color I like as a top stitch along there. I don't have to blend in. I can make it look really pretty. So let's see what I can find. Okay, I hope I don't end up hating myself for this, but I found some of this polyester thread that I bought from Temu of all places a few weeks ago. So the one that I've just loaded is a little bit more purpley rather than reddish, but very similar to that. Let's give it a crack, and I hope I don't hate myself at the end of this. But it's polyester, well, it says that it's polyester, so hopefully it's okay. So I'm going to lengthen my stitch length to about 4.5. I'm going to stay nice and close to this end. A few little back stitches there, and nice and slow. And I want to stay as close to that end, this edge I mean, of that zipper tape as possible for a nice look, but also so that seam doesn't bunch up on this side or on the lining side. So top stitching is one of my favorite things to do. I really enjoy top stitching, but it's something that you need to practice to make it look good. And go slow, as tempting as it is. It's really slow over this zipper bit here because that zipper is still there. Up to the end, back stitch it a little bit. Let's go have a look at that. Didn't go too bad. I wish the colors had changed a little bit quicker so that, you know, it went from like yellow to green to pink a little bit quicker. But it's still cute. Still cute. Not bad. And my machine handled it okay. My machine didn't jack up at it. So, I mean, I'm not going to make it a habit to buy thread from Temu for sure, because I like Gutermann, which is very good quality thread. But that one okay. Right, so now we're going to add on our other bits. So I'm going to lay my bit that I just did down. I'm going to grab my other main piece and put them right sides together. Now I'm going to line it up. You'll be able to see how it's not lined up at the bottom or here. That's because I'm going to line it up with the top edge of that zipper tape. So I want these sides to line up, but I want it up along that zipper tape. And then I'm going to whack some clips on there. Elvis is waking up and he's trying to get that door open to let the cats in because they're sitting there looking at him pitifully. Breaking one. Magic Fairy will clean it up. Okay, so what I'm going to do too is again mark 1 inch in from that zipper edge so that we can remember to do our butler method. Okay, flip him over to our lining side, so you can see that the lining's sitting down a lot nicer and a lot flatter after our top stitching. Okay, so same thing, these sides are going to be lined up, but the top is going to be lined up with the edge of that zipper tape. Again, if you're nervous, then you can go and sort of baste it on one piece at a time. But I really think sandwiching it, the zipper tape in between the two pieces like this, isn't that difficult to do, as long as you go slow and you use enough clips, okay? Trust yourself. Practice, 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 practice. And then again, about that 1 inch mark on that side to remember to pull our tape up. Okay, same thing, over to the machine. Let's get that sewn on. Okay, I'm just going to leave that same thread in there that I was using for the top thread. It'll be fine because you're not going to see this anyway. Going to shorten my stitch length back down to that 3.5 mark. I can feel where my tape is, where that zipper tape is, like we talked about before. And I'm just going to keep this edge of that foot lined up against that plastic tape. You will be able to feel it, and like you can see, I'm using this finger as well as I go to sort of feel where that is. But I'm just being very careful to keep my fingers away from that bitey bit of my needle. Now I'm going to find that zipper head, and I'm going to get that out of the way now. I want to keep it up there for most of the time just so it's all straight, but then when you get to this bit, you just want to get it out of the way. So line that all up again nicely. If you feel like you want to put a clip in there, knock yourself out. And I'm going to get up to that 1 inch line, pull that out, nice and slow, back stitch, and then back over again. Righto, same thing, back over to the table, iron, and then come back and top stitch. I like to do it from the inside, pull that lining piece, and then just give it a good iron, pulling it away from that zipper so that it sits flat. Now be careful with your iron that's not too hot, just so you don't accidentally melt that zipper tape, especially if it is, like this one is a good one that I got from Voodoo Rabbit, voodoorabbit.com.au here in Australia. They've got some really good stuff. I'm pretty sure I got it from there. Even if I didn't, Voodoo Rabbit has some really good bag hardware and accessories and stuff like that. So even if I'm fibbing, check them out, they're pretty good. I do like getting stuff from there. So you can see like my zipper tape is hanging out down there. That's fine, we're going to chop it off in a minute. I just wanted to make sure that we had plenty of wiggle room. It's better to waste an inch than to waste everything because you didn't cut it long enough. So same thing, back over to the machine, and we're gonna top stitch. Oh, hot! Jeez, we're gonna top stitch along that same edge with that same thread. Let's go do that. Okay, same thing. Always start with this with your needle in your work and lengthen your stitch length back to that 4.5 or whatever you had done before. A couple of stitches and back stitch. Now, I don't know. I might take it back about this thread. I like it. It looks pretty, but it's looking quite fibrous to me. And I'm talking too much and I'm wiggling away from that edge. Oh yeah, there we go. My needle just went through my zipper foot. That's my problem. That is your problem. Let's see if I can get the rest of this done though. Because it doesn't like that thread. And it does look a little bit fibrous to me. It's pulling a little bit, like as I started to film, it snapped and then it's gone through my zipper foot again. It's a good thing it's a plastic one. And then back. Now that could be a number of things. It could be user error, which I don't think it was. If your machine doesn't like a thread, it can be something as simple as that. Like that needle has gone through that zipper foot. I'll take a closer shot of it and show you in a sec. Okay, so it did skip a couple of stitches there, which is super annoying. And it wasn't as close as it was here. Now have a look at this. There we go. So see how that zipper foot sort of has that hole in it there, at that edge right at the back there? The needle actually went through that a couple of times. So as I started to sew, it's the thread started to break, and I noticed that it looked quite fibrous with polyester shouldn't, and it's meant to be 100% polyester. And my industrial machine does not like cheap cotton thread at all. It will jack up and do terrible things like that. It's buggered now. Can't use him anymore. So I will fix that. I will go back over and I will just do a little bit of back and forth over where that skipped with just my pink thread that I had before, and you won't notice, and that's okay. I'll fix that and then we'll do the next bit. First of all, let's cut these long pieces out now. Now the reason I didn't cut these out before I top stitched was because I wanted that top stitch to go over them as well and just give it that little bit of extra strength. So that's okay. I'm going to fix that bit while you're not watching because you don't need to see me do that. But what we're going to do next is then fold it so our right sides of our main lining are together and the right sides of our lining are together. I can probably get rid of that. I want to make sure that I'm clipping at that join where that zipper is pretty exact. So make sure that they are lined up. You can undo that zipper a bit, makes life easier, honestly. So see how I've got that? I want those edges lined up. And then line up down these sides. So what we're going to do is go over to the machine and we are going to sew down this edge over that bump, down here, over that edge, over that bump, and down here. You might need a hump jump here, which is fine, not a problem. You know how to use one of them. If you don't, I will show you. Then we're going to sew along the bottom of that main piece. We are not sewing here. We're not sewing these corners. Okay, that will come in a minute. Then we're going to do the same thing along this bottom bit of our lining, but we're going to leave that bit out. Okay, so I've gone back and I fixed that bit where I had that skip stitches and stuff that I didn't like. And I also changed out that zipper foot, and importantly, I also changed out that needle. Once that needle was driven through that plastic foot, that's it, gonzo. Like you've wrecked your needle. It's got a nick in it, or it's gone blunt or whatever, and it's just going to cause you a world of trouble. So I'm going to skip back to about a 3.5 mil length back stitch, and I'm about 1/4 of an inch away from that seam allowance. So I bought these feet off that particular website as well, and I don't know if that was a great idea. Like, I do go through a lot of them, but I don't know if it's worth the hassle, to be honest, but we'll see. Down, back stitch. While I'm here, I might as well just spin that work around. Sorry for the camera moving. It's got cords and stuff everywhere. And I'll start on this bottom piece. Now with the lining piece, you always want your seam allowance to be a little bit bigger, just because it's got to fit into that main piece. So it's going to be a little bit smaller. Up to that line and stop. Lift up my needle. Take it up to that other edge. So I'm going to straighten that up a little bit. I'm not happy with that. There we go, needle down, back stitch, and sorry for the camera shaking, the whole table shaking, I need a better tripod. Up, and then I can start on this side, and I'm skipping those corners, as you'll see. It's this cord, sorry. It's a light cord, it keeps getting caught. So one-handed and I hold the cord with the other one. Okay, this bit here, I might find my hump jump. Pop that under there. Take that out. So if you don't have a hump jump, just fold up a piece of fabric a few times over and use that. Down to that edge, back stitch, forward, lift up my needle, and turn my work around so that I'm on the bottom. Oh, my thread's so messy there, but I'm trying to hold that stupid cord. Hang on. Let's get all that out of the way. Okay, I should be right now. Back stitch. And we're shaking. All the way across, back stitch. Okay, let's have a look at this and then I'll show you what we're going to do with those corners. Okay, so now we've got those sides sewn down, the bottom of our main piece and then just the sides of our lining piece. What we're going to do now is have a look at those corners. So what we're going to do is take our corner, we're going to grab those bits, pull and line our seams up together, just like that. Okay, so it's flat, grabbing those corners, pull, line those seams up, and they should line up pretty well. And then just going to whack a few clips on that to hold it in place. Now, we're going to take that back over to the sewing machine and we are going to sew, we're going to pull it all flat and we are going to sew straight over that corner. And we're going to do that on all four corners. Now, being a pencil case, it's not going to be holding a whole heap of weight, but when I make bags, I always go over 2 or 3 times. So feel free to get into that habit and go over it twice. So I also I've cut these seams down pretty low, but have one seam going one way and one seam going the other way. It'll be easier to see on the lining bit. So if I have that bottom seam going that way, then I want that top seam going that way. Okay, let's go over to the sewing machine and do that and we are almost finished. Okay, so main fabric piece first, foot down, needle down, shorter stitch length, wiggle, 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 wiggle. Remember the back stitch, really important on this bit, and go over and back stitch. Now you want to make sure that you caught everything, so I'm just going to go again. That was naughty of me not to cut that thread. Okay, do that to the other side and your lining corners, and I'll see you back at the table. Okay, so that is all our corners done. Good work. So what we want to do now, find that turnout hole stick your hand in there and check these corners. So you want to make sure that you have caught all of that and there is no gaps. Run your fingers down along that bottom seam. Make sure you've caught all that. You've caught all that. You've caught that side. And you've caught these corners. It is just much easier to do that now than when you turn it out. And I'm going to use my good fabric scissors. Oh, I'm so naughty. Then when you turn it out and then realize that you've missed just like a tiny little millimeter and you have to go back and do it again. So I'm just cutting those seams down just a little bit just to get rid of some of that bulk, especially in these foamy bits. I think these fabric scissors are going to be downgraded to my less than best scissors, and I'm going to get some better scissors. Right, this is my favorite part, turning out the bag. So grab a corner and we are birthing our bag. Now, we've talked about that term before and why it's called that, and you can figure that one out on your own. Now those threads, and pop that out. This is a really easy one to turn inside out because it's quite a good shape. Really push those corners out at the bottom. And again, while you're here, just make sure, double check your corners and find any threads. So there's those threads where I went back and fixed that top stitch. And now I've spoken about that before. Now when you're watching a tutorial and you don't get something right and you're like, oh no, you know, I'm terrible. We don't get it right either. I mean, you know, it's editing is great. You can go back and redo a piece and remake a piece and pretend like it never happened. I don't like doing that, A, because it takes so much time, but B, because, I mean, everyone messes up. Like, we all make mistakes. Nothing is perfect. Things go wrong. So, you know, don't believe everything that you see. So I want you to have a look at this zipper tab that we did earlier. This zip and bit that closes off, and how good that looks when you do it properly. So we've stayed that round about 3/4 of an inch away, so it's not backed up right up in this corner so it doesn't bunch up, and it just sits really nicely and just makes a really nice finish for that zipper. So now what is left to do is to sew up our turnout hole. So we're going to iron that into place, just like that. My iron should still be hot enough. Oh, can I cheat without getting that wool mat out again? Oh, it's a little bit lazy of me, wasn't it? And then whack a few clips or pins on that. Take that back to the sewing machine. Now we want to sew that at about 1/8 of an inch. So nice and close to that edge, but again, making sure that you catch it. Okay, then we'll come back and we'll give it an iron and have a look. Nice and close to that edge, so I'll get that thread out of the way. Start a little bit further back than what I think I need to, just in case my calculations are off. Back to a shorter stitch length, nice and slow. Now I'm not watching my needle, I'm watching this edge of the fabric lining up with that part of the foot. And that's just to keep that nice 1/8 of an inch roundabout seam allowance. A little bit more, I think I need to go right up to about there. We don't want to get this far and then have to come back over to the machine again. There we go. Okay, that's done. Again, just make sure that you've caught both sides so there's no holes. Push that in. Oh, I'm liking this. This is pretty. It's got that nice wide base. Okay, now we're going to give this a bit of an iron because it's copped a bit of a beating. It's got a few wrinkles as we've gone along. So I can pop my iron in there. I do have smaller irons for smaller bags. I can see it. It's on the floor. That's okay. You can stay over there. This one will do for this. Now I bought this thing off Temu as well, which I really like. It's one of the few things that I do like. It lets me iron the outside without burning my hands, because I'm always burning my hands, if you haven't noticed. I'm a little bit sensitive. My hands aren't that tough. So I want to do this side, this end. I want to make that nice and flat and pretty. Now, if you're one of my local friends and you're watching this, like you all promised to do or say, and you have a little one that would like this for school when school goes back, or would like it just for home, let me know and I'll drop it off. There we go. Okay, let's have a look at this. Flatten that bottom out a little bit. Cool. I really quite like that. I will put that in my, that needs to be flattened out a little bit more. I'll put that into my light box and take a decent photo of it, and we'll have a look. But if you made that along with me, then thank you very much. If you like my videos, like, subscribe and all that jazz. And remember, it's only fabric. We can always buy more, and I will see you next time. Have a good one. Bugger.